So what is carbon dioxide capture and sequestration? So the basic idea is that today we have lots of power plants, lots of industrial facilities that use carbon-based fuels, basically fossil fuels, to produce power. And we know that when you burn fossil fuels that you emit carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and of course that's a bad thing. So carbon dioxide capture, the idea is that instead of letting the carbon go directly into the atmosphere, that you put on a chemical scrubbing unit and you take the carbon dioxide out of the gas coming out of the power plant. You then compress it and you inject it into a deep underground geological formation for the purposes of long-term storage. So these are the three techniques. So post-combustion, standard technology, you could retrofit existing plants. You'd just take any power plant like today and you'd put this chemical scrubbing unit on the back of it. And then you just take it and then put it, send it off to in a pipeline to the geologic formation. So the good thing about that technology, the reason it's promising, is that we already know how to do that today. In fact, we already do it today in a limited number of cases. Pre-combustion has the benefit of lower energy requirements, but it's a pretty complicated chemical process. Basically, you take coal and you convert the coal to a gas, something called a synthetic gas or syngas, and that's a mixture of carbon monoxide, hydrogen, and carbon dioxide. And so you can do this, and as a matter of fact, you can convert all of the hydrogen in coal basically to pure hydrogen molecules and the rest to carbon dioxide, even before you burn it. So it's much simpler to separate the carbon dioxide from the hydrogen in this case because you've got a lot more carbon dioxide compared to the hydrogen, and then you burn the hydrogen. And when you burn hydrogen, it's incredibly clean. You basically make water. All right, so the third option is something called oxycombustion. So the reason that it's so difficult to separate carbon dioxide out after you burn coal typically is because you burn the coal in air. And air is actually about 80% nitrogen. So the big job you have is to separate carbon dioxide from nitrogen. So an alternative to that is that instead of burning the coal in air, you could burn the coal in basically pure oxygen. So what you need to do in that case is that you separate the carbon dioxide, you separate the oxygen from the air before you burn it, or before you use it to burn the coal. So now you're just combusting or burning coal in air, in oxygen. And the product then is just a mixture of water and carbon dioxide. So now the separation problem after you've done the burning of the coal is quite easy. Carbon capture actually costs quite a bit. And in fact, it might increase the price of electricity anywhere from 50 to 100%. Not to the customer, because the customer pays a lot of other things too, but in terms of the primary generation of electricity, it could be from 50 to 100% more expensive. That's on the capture side. On the sequestration side, really the most promising option is to put the carbon dioxide into deep geological formations, and you put it in formations that have lots of pore space so that there's room in the subsurface, in the pores, but you also need a very good seal that sits on top of this storage reservoir, or the sequestration reservoir, and traps the carbon dioxide so that it will remain underground for thousands to millions of years. So I think the question that people really have more concern about is, well, what are the risks of geological storage of carbon dioxide? If a human or if an animal encountered that very concentrated source of CO2, it could be fatal. So we need to be straightforward about that. Carbon dioxide gas is a hazardous gas. So the question is then, well, how likely is that to ever happen? Well, it turns out that in most places you have wind and so forth, and the extent of mixing is actually extremely great. So whereas one can't rule out the possibility that there would be times or an occasion or a situation that that high concentrations of CO2 could arise. There are very, very few scenarios that that's actually likely to be the case. This technology in many ways is at hand. It's more a question of moving forward, gaining more practice, and beginning the benefits that could be achieved through significant carbon dioxide emission reductions.